water. How's everybody?
Great.
Dry? Everybody dry? So much rain. Okay, I'll call the roll. Anthony Anderson,
Here.
Claudia Avalos, Natalie Caballero. You told me that last time.
Yes, present.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Maricela Higgins,
Here?
Alicia Riviera,
Here.
Vanessa Robbins, Ron Robinson.
Present.
I don't know why they always put him next to me.
Well, I can move.
No. Diane Salazar. And of course, Glenda Jemison. Okay, moving on. Would somebody, have you all read the minutes from the last meeting?
Certainly have.
Yes.
Can I have a motion from a board member?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as they are.
Can I have a second?
I second the motion that we have.
It's been moved and seconded that we pass the minutes from the last meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, TDLR video presentation. Tamla. On public comments. Oh, there we go.
Need to dim the lights. You want to dub it in?
Yeah. Get all that technology.
Of the meeting. This is an opportunity for members of the public to have their voice heard regarding a subject that is not included on the meeting's agenda.
Now, as you might imagine, it would be confusing if everyone talked and the commission didn't know who they were or why they were there. The commission has a few rules to help make this an orderly process and give everyone who wants to make a public comment a chance to speak.
To make a public comment, you must first complete a public comment form. You'll find these forms on the table by the door when you first walk into the commission meeting room. Fill out the form completely, and when you finish, give it to the commission's administrative assistant so she can add your name to the list of speakers for the public comment part of the meeting.
The second rule is that you must limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. 3 minutes can be a very long time if you're nervous.
Yes, it can, but it goes by quickly. That's why it's very important to plan your comments carefully so you can make your point in the short amount of time available to you.
An important thing to remember is that you may not comment on any case the commission must decide during the meeting.
That's exactly right. The commission does not want to ignore you or your opinions, but because of the pending case, the commissioners might have to interrupt you and stop you from making those comments. That can be embarrassing, but more importantly, you'll have wasted your time. The public comment portion of the agenda is for the commission to hear what the public has to say about issues that are not specifically listed on the agenda. The public comment period does not include debate about the issues. If the topic you want to talk about is already on the agenda, then you have to wait until the commission gets to that agenda item. You won't be allowed to comment on that topic during the public comment part of the meeting. Public comments are only for topics that are not on the agenda.
If you have a case pending before the commission, you'll get an opportunity to talk to the commission about your case when it comes up on the agenda. For that reason, you will not be allowed to talk to the commission about your case in the public comment part of the meeting. The commission will hear your case when it has to decide your case and when the commissioners have your case filed in front of them.
So those are the basic rules about making public comments at a commission meeting. You must fill out a public comment form.
You only have 3 minutes to make all of your comments.
You may not comment on any case the commission has to decide that day.
Any comments about a topic that is listed on the agenda must wait until the commission takes up that agenda item.
If you have a case pending before the commission, comments about your own case will have to wait until the commission actually considers your case.
TDLR commissioners are good listeners and will consider everything you say, but keep in mind that they are not allowed to respond to your public comments. That's because the commission is only allowed to talk about things that are on the agenda. That way everyone, commissioners and the public alike, will know how to plan for each meeting.
We hope you find this information useful as you plan to make a public comment at the meeting of the Texas Commission of Licensing and Regulation.
And remember, if you ever have any questions, you can always call TDLR for assistance. While the staff at TDLR cannot give you any legal advice, they can answer basic questions about procedures at commission meetings, like offering public comments.
Thank you for watching.
Good.
Move on.
Move on. Okay.
Madam Chair, this is a project that was, I guess, one of my pet projects that I had the staff working on. And you'll notice to my left is the movie star that was in that particular video, Mary Winston. She left her sunglasses in her car. Otherwise, she'd be really doing the Hollywood part for us right now. But what I wanted to do, and it talks about commission because that's at the commission meetings, but it is equally applicable to the advisory board meetings. And I wanted to have some instructional information that kind of keyed the public into what the standards are for public comment. And then at the commission meetings, we've got for the motions for hearing, motions for rehearing, and also the contested cases when people want to come up and talk about those. So they know what to expect and what they can and can't present to the body that's hearing the information. So the public information piece really applies to all of them. Those other two pieces apply strictly to the commission meeting because that's dealing with enforcement orders. And we will play those before the different meetings so that if somebody is new here that has come to give public comment or whatever, they know when they can submit the public comment and what the parameters are so that we don't have somebody expecting to have an hour and a half of discourse and discussion on what issue they bring to the body. So I'm glad that we've got the talented staff that we have that we can create these on videos ourselves.
Yeah, that was really good. Any questions from the advisory board? To Mr. Coons? No. Thank you so much. That was very nice. And thanks to the movie star also. Okay. I only have 2 public comments. Anybody else had one? No? Okay. The first one will be Shannon Tucker about PSI testing.
Okay, good afternoon, Advisory Committee. I'm Shannon Tucker with the Aveda Institute, San Antonio. In October of 2015, we had approximately 9 graduates that were Cosmos and Estes that sat for their practical portion of the exam. And on October 22nd, they notified me that all 9 of them had failed. So I looked at the bulletin, read the bulletin that was dated 9/1, couldn't find what had gone wrong, put in a phone call to Lynn Thomas at PSI, and she told me that the reason why that they had failed was because they had labeled their implements. When I brought to her attention that on page 13 of the bulletin it stated that the supplies and implements were to be labeled and pre-sanitized, she proceeded to argue with me for about 2 or 3 minutes, and she finally pulled up the bulletin that was dated 9/1/2015 and saw that the instructions were indeed incorrect. Her words were, "Oops, we missed one." When in fact, not only did they miss correcting the esthetician bulletin, they also missed correcting the cosmetology bulletin. So she stated that my educator should have gone to the open house and they would have learned. And my response was, we train our students to check the bulletin first thing before they take the practical to ensure that they do what PSI truly expects. So she did end up crediting my 9 students a second testing without any cost to them, and they all 9 passed with flying colors. But my quandary is PSI is not acting in the best interest of these students if they are publishing one thing and expecting a different thing. And that's only setting up students for failure. And how many other students were affected and had their licensure delayed, had their employment delayed, not to mention, knock their self-esteem down a little bit. I don't think that that was in the best interest. And I think when it's time for PSI's contract to be renewed, that this be looked at, because I know this isn't the only challenge that we've had with PSI administering our tests for our students. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you. Cynthia Cole Jeffrey concerning eyelash extensions. You have the Jeffrey in quotations.
Yeah, I just got married a month ago, so
Oh.
my license is still under Jeffrey, but
Okay,
technically I'm full.
gotcha. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very nervous, so may I give you guys some pictures to pass around really quickly? I guess I'll start here and just let you guys pass down. The ones on the yellow papers are an infection that I actually removed from a previous client on Thursday. I had to send them to the
microphone.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. These are correct, those are incorrect.
Okay.
I own Lash Boutique in Waco, Texas. I'm just gonna read off of this because I'm nervous and probably will say everything incorrect. But, we are licensed in regulation, but it seems that we're having a tough time protecting our consumers from unlicensed, well, actually untrained, but licensed as a cosmetologist and esthetician in eyelash extensions. After removing extreme lash extension damage day after day, week after week, month after month, of clients with obvious infections, I'm having to send them to the doctor. What I'm seeing in my industry is that TDLR has allowed cosmetologists and estheticians to be grandfathered into the role of eyelash extensions. I know we now have a license for eyelash extensions, but cosmetologists and estheticians that are new, they have not been trained in eyelash extensions and proper application, but yet their license that is cosmetology and esthetician is allowing for them to apply eyelash extensions with absolutely no training. So every day I'm seeing extreme infection from improperly trained eyelash technicians applying eyelash extensions. So I guess what I'm proposing today is that all estheticians and all cosmetologists that want to be able to apply eyelash extensions, it be required that they go through the same 320-hour eyelash extension course that I had to go through, or that, anyone else wanting to apply eyelash extensions they need to go through that training. There's so much that is in that 320 hours that we learn that these ladies that are being grandfathered in, they're not getting that education, so therefore they're not passing that education along to the consumers. The consumers can not know how to wash their eyelashes properly, or not be told to wash their eyelashes at all. That can cause infection of the hair follicle in the eye, blepharitis infection, the white pus that you're seeing on the pictures there. That was just Thursday by someone that is actually a cosmetologist with no training doing lashes. I'm from Waco, and I'm sure it's going on all over the state of Texas, but in my little area, I see it the most because that's all I do is eyelash extensions. So when people go to other places and they do get a bad job and they come to me and they want to fill because it hurts and they're red and they're itchy and they can't understand why, they majority of the time leave my salon literally in tears because I've taken their lashes off, refused to put more back on because their lashes are so damaged. And typically by the time I take their lashes off of them, if they've been going somewhere for an extensive amount of time, even a couple months, and it's been done improperly, typically I find green infection underneath the eye. So I'm just asking that we protect our consumers, and we demand training for everybody across the board to do eyelash extensions, and a simple grandfather in is not enough.
Thank you. Okay. Now we have staff reports, and I think the first one is the executive office.
Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Kuntz?
members, I'm Bill Kuntz, your Executive Director. TDLR is a very busy place these days. The legislature sent several new programs to us, or I'd say numerous new programs. We received the driver training programs from both DPS and TEA. They're consolidated now in one place. They have all transferred all already, and the Education Division is the primary residence for that particular program. Ray Pizarro's implementing that. In addition to that, we have 7 programs coming to us from the Department of State Health Services this biennium, and then next biennium, they already have designated in the legislature that the additional 6 programs will come to us from Department of State Health Services. We don't know how many other programs they'll take a look at during the session, next session, starting in September or January of January of 2017. So I think we'll continue to be very busy, even during the interim between the legislative sessions. So it's an exciting time at TDLR. It's a growth opportunity for the staff to take on new things. It keeps us from getting stale in the things that we're doing. There's always new challenges, so it's a good thing for the agency. On the horizon, we've got several things I wanted to bring to the attention of the advisory board. In February of this year, in North Carolina, there was a United States Supreme Court case that ruled against the North Carolina State Board of Dental Examiners. That case was between the dental examiners and the FTC. That case had been closely followed by the Consumers Union and the Institute for Justice in Texas. Both of those entities have advocated for abolishing licensing in several different forms. The court found that with the board structure composed of persons who are active market participants, their decisions may be challenged as anti-competitive. And it's something that we need to look at as we go forward with licensing standards in the state of Texas, because it could have an adverse effect on the licensing programs that we have. Now, the programs at TDLR provide for some protection against that challenge. This was a single license agency, the dental examiners, and they were saying that dental technicians could not apply the teeth whitening processes if they were not, in fact, licensed by the dental board. That was viewed by the Supreme Court as anti-competitive, because the people that are affected by that are saying that other people could not do the same things that they could do. Because we don't have a single licensing board. We have a commission of 7 members that are appointed by the governor, and by statute cannot have an interest in any of the businesses or professions that we regulate. We have that layer of oversight that gives that protection against that presumption of anti-competitive bias. So that's something that you're in a good position as a program under TDLR's management because of that. So that's really good news there. We need to watch and find out exactly where things are going, because in addition to that, and I said that the Institute for Justice and the Consumers Union were doing activities to follow that they were really drivers behind that challenge to the North Carolina group. The White House issued a paper in July of this year that is titled Occupational Licensing, a Framework for Policymakers. That paper was done by the Department of Treasury, of Economic Policy, the Council of Economic Advisors, and the Department of Labor. And the tenor of that paper is similar to the same types of papers that we've seen from the Institute of Justice, which challenges the validity of licensing in many different forms, particularly with that single license agency type of situation where there could be an anti-competitive bias. So it's throughout the nation and also in Texas that we're seeing this review of licensing and people taking a close look at it. In addition to that, the Lieutenant Governor has issued his interim charges. And one of his charges is to review all occupations licensed under Texas law to determine the extent to which continued state regulation and licensure is required to protect public health and safety. And I think that the key pieces there are public health and safety. And we have to keep a focus of that in our rules and in our statutory amendments. Which then brings me to the recent history that we've had with the legislature and the courts. TDLR in strategic planning twice identified the issue of square footage in cosmetology schools. And we brought that to the legislature's attention. And both of those times, that particular suggested legislation was rebuffed. In this last year, we lost the Brantley case, which has been deemed as the hair braiding case. Now, Brantley had nothing to do with hair braiding. It had everything to do with square footage, because the court found that it was not proper to require the square footage for a single school teaching a single category of things, hair braiding. They didn't need the 9 chairs. They didn't need the 2,000 square feet. That was just anti-competitive, and that shouldn't be allowed. Because we lost that, we're having to pay $134,000 in legal fees. So as we go forward into strategic planning, I will bring forward completely doing away with square footage requirements for schools. And we need to pay attention to that, and everybody needs to get behind it, because all it is a roadmap for the Institute of Justice to come back and file suit on a school basis, just another slice and another slice, and we'll lose every time because we've got court precedent on that. It's not going to do us any good to fight that battle anymore. We need to give up on some of those things that are not related to public health and safety in licensing. So that's the message that I've got to give the advance warning about what we need to look at in strategic planning. And we need to be proactive in cleaning things up so that there won't be challenges, so that we won't lose licensing altogether, because that is a possible challenge the way things are going nationally. I'll be glad to answer any questions after I've just dropped that heavy thing on you.
Yeah. So the Brantley course with the braiding salon, had nothing to do with
All of the talk was about braiding, but the decision and the court action, they kept slicing a little bit off. Oh, we're not going to prevail on this particular element, so they just drop that. The only element left in there that the court really ruled on was that the square footage was anti-competitive. And we couldn't do anything to defend that. It was in the statute, and that was what we had to deal with. It was distasteful to lose that on that basis, particularly since we tried to solve that problem twice before in legislative sessions. And that also kind of went against us, because I testified that we needed to amend the statutory requirements on square footage. I could not go back and in good conscience say, oh no, she needed 2,000 square feet in order to have a school there.
Any questions?
I do. Marisela Higgins, Advisory Board Member. I think as you talk about the school and the possibility of deregulating a lot of the things that are now regulated, the concern is that there seems to not be enough training already for a lot of our operators or cosmetologists in order to ensure public safety and hygiene. And so how can we help to ensure that that remains regulated? Because as it is, there's so many violations that we can't even follow and control. So as we go forward, what can be done to maintain regulations where we feel that definitely should be regulations?
I don't have a ready answer for you on that. I think that that's something that we need to explore in strategic planning. I know that in these papers that I referenced, one of the things, and these papers recycle the same sound bites over and over and over again. So there's a lot of plagiarism going on in those papers. But one of the things that they cycle up all the time is it takes more education to become a cosmetologist than it does to become an EMT. And the EMT is dealing with life, health, and safety right there in emergency situations. Why does it take more schooling to become a cosmetologist than an EMT? So that's one of the things that we have to look at, and we have to come up with an answer about that. So, Maricela, we do need to have discussions about it, and I think a lively discussion during the strategic planning is really where we need to be, so we thoroughly vet those issues.
Okay.
Anyone
you.
else?
When will we have a meeting of that? When is the next strategic?
We'll be starting that in February.
February?
Yes.
Okay.
And you know from in the past, we send out letters to people. We have it on the internet. We have the focus groups that we do throughout the state. We'll be soliciting information, and the more robust the discussions are, the better product that we are able to come up with and the roadmap for how to address these issues in the next legislative session. So, my point here is just to get everybody thinking about it now, instead of getting a letter saying that we're going to have a strategic planning focus group in 2 weeks and please come to it. The more time you have to think about these issues, the more ready we are with good answers on what we need to pursue.
And I have a follow-up question, Maricela Higgins again. I think the concern of what the square footage is in a school, it seems to me a little irrelevant as to really the quality of education and to make sure that they're really ready to be out there servicing the public and to ensure the public's safety. So in cases of small communities where there's only one cosmetology school and they don't offer all of the courses that are necessary, how would any of those students be able to get additional trainings and education as they probably should have with eyelash extension, for example? That's probably another thing to consider, or is irrelevant at this point. I'm not sure, but it's a concern of mine.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think that one of the answers is, well, let's have separate licenses for each different thing. When I went around doing the focus groups when cosmetology first came to us, somebody had suggested the concept of a hair cutting license and then hair coloring license in doing these things. And I met with some very focused and emotional response that I'm just slicing and dicing the license and it was going to cheapen everything. So now, and as political winds change, there's a mood in the legislature not to have additional licenses, even though it would make sense that this is going to be cosmetology, but we want to have specialties in these areas. That to break up a operator license into those different specialties, I don't know that that's the answer that the legislature would be amenable to. So we've got an interesting dynamic going on in licensing throughout the country and also in Texas, and it's going to be something that we're really going to have to explore some creative methods of addressing those issues. But Maricela, you've got some great ideas on this. I look forward to your really giving me some food for thought as we go through the
And if I may just add,
strat planning.
the license for an operator, in cosmetology license, it allows for most of the training to be in hair, yet they're allowed to do facials, for example, and work in aesthetics and hand and feet as well. Where in aesthetics, for example, they only get 50 hours of training, and an esthetician really should study at least 750 hours or, you know, a little bit further. So maybe there should be some consideration of, in the same operator's license, that maybe the timing be distributed appropriately. So skincare, to me, seems to be a great concern where there could be a lot of contaminants. There's blood issues, and whereas cutting hair doesn't seem to be as, you know, important, in having 1,500 hours and mostly 1,400 devoted to that, and maybe 100 to the rest of the courses that they're allowed to do. Just, I don't know where we can talk about that
Right,
issue.
and
but-
what I'm hearing you say, if I could summarize it, is that to focus curriculum on health and safety more than on the skill set for the haircutting and coloring.
The big emphasis seems to be in hair, and yet they're able to do so many other things, yes. So
Right.
maybe the
And-
hours need to be distributed.
And throughout all these challenges, the issue keeps coming up, is there a provision for the health and safety? Is that why they're having licensing? So
Right.
keeping that in mind, I
Right.
think, is really the best focus that we can have going forward.
Right. Thank you for listening to that.
Anything else? No? Thank you.
Okay.
Compliance, Elizabeth Perez.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Advisory Board members. My name is Elizabeth Bettis, and I'll be giving the staff report for the Compliance Division. In August of this year, Marinella LaFleur, David Gonzalez, and I, with help from the field operations staff, attended the Armstrong McCall Show in Houston. And we answered questions on licensing renewals, and we have forms available if needed. The Natural Beauty Cultures League Show was canceled in October, and if they reschedule, we will attend that also. Our next show is the Image Expo in November in Dallas, the 16th and 17th. Marinella and I continue to assist the other TDL departments with cosmetology-related questions and emails. We're also ongoing with the bill implementation team's efforts on HB 104 and HB 2717. This concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone? No? Thank you. Okay. Next is Education and Examination Division. And we have Rebecca. I thought we had Ray, but we have Rebecca.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Advisory Board members. I'm Rebecca Adamus with the Education and Examination Division. We haven't had much going on since the last time we met. Just wanted to bring up a few things. We have added a couple of new team members. We've added Brian Beal, who comes along with our driver safety program, and Alice Bradford, who will be assisting us in the accreditation program.
Are they here?
No, they are not.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they're watching. Hi, guys. Another item that I'd like to bring to your attention is our School Examination Inspection Division conducted a site visit summit in the Rio Grande Valley. It was very successful. They were there to just kind of put us out there, go over best practices, answer questions. We will be having many of these. This is just the first of many. We'll have one coming up in December at Porter High School in the Houston area. And for anybody in the gallery and listening online, if you are interested in us kind of having one in your general area, you can email the Education and Examination Division and just kind of give us a shout and let us know that you're interested in us to come out to your area and speak to your folks, and we'll be more than happy to, see if we can make that happen.
And those were very helpful.
Yes, ma'am, yes. And that's all I have for you. Any questions?
Ron?
No, I was just looking at this education examination that you were just talking about.
Mhm.
So exactly what all did y'all do? I was reading here. What did you, I noticed it said strategies to improve teaching.
It was
Were
our
you working-
inspectors. It was from
Oh.
a couple of our
Okay.
inspectors. Our lead inspector, Marco Rodriguez, and Dylan Juju went out and just kind of basically addressed the group with any observations they may have had while they were out in the field inspections from the field staff that we have, whether it be things that they observed when they go out and inspect schools. Any little things that would help make your school inspection better,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
Sounds,
Anybody else has questions? No? Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Moving right along. The next one is enforcement, Karen Cox, right?
Good afternoon, Ms. Jamison. Yes, I'm Karen Cox. I'm with the Enforcement Division. Since the last meeting, we have some case highlights to discuss briefly with you. On September 8th, we had a default order entered against a Rockstar Nail and Spa assessing a penalty of $4,700 for failing to properly maintain spa records and failing to keep the foot spas clean. On September 16th, we had an agreed order entered for $4,400 against VIP Nail and Spa, assessing a penalty of $4,400, again, for failing to clean the foot spas and failing to keep the records on cleaning. We had an order of $56,000 entered on September 30th against Angel Beauty Academy, which revoked the cosmetology school's license for 16 counts of improperly crediting hours. That would be either crediting students with hours the students did not earn, or crediting them changing what the students earned as demonstrated by the school records and reporting a different number to us. On September 30th, we got a default order against Universal Beauty College assessing a penalty of $10,500 and again revoking the school's license for 3 counts of improperly crediting hours to students. There was a $4,750 order entered on October 5th against Davi Nails for failing to maintain the cleaning logs for the pedicure foot spas and for 6 counts of failing to properly clean or sanitize the foot spas.
Can I interrupt you for a
Yes.
second? Marisela Higgins,
Ms.
Advisory
Higgins.
Board Member. There seems to be a lot of emphasis on documenting.
Yes.
But how do you really know that they're doing the job and cleaning them? Wouldn't it be best if you actually took a swipe and looked at the facility
Actually-
instead of a log?
Actually, we do know that they're cleaning because we do this is from either regular inspections, where one of the compliance inspectors, the field op inspectors, will go out and look at the foot spas. They will physically look at them and take the filters off, take the jets out, and we will ask the operators what are the processes that they use to clean. Do they clean it after each customer? Do they do the required end-of-the-day cleaning where they're supposed to fill it up and flush it and soak the filters? And then do they do the biweekly cleaning where they let it sit with bleach or disinfectant for 6 hours? And we expect a yes answer on all of those. If we don't get it, then they're cited for that. If the inspector sees dirt in the foot spa and it's obvious the foot spa has been used, for example, if you can see that there's a list of customers and they've been assigned different foot spas, go over to the foot spa and see that it has mold growing in it. We do see that. We actually see pictures with gray or green mold on the filters or debris caught in the filters. In that case, we would cite them for not cleaning the foot spa, because if a person follows the cleaning procedures in 82 or 83, 108, there will not be mold or dirt visible on the foot spas. They'll be clean. If we see mold or dirt in it, we conclude that the salon is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. There is also, like I said, where we ask them, and times, I mean, many times the salon owner will say, oh no, we just wipe it out with water, or we don't do the soaking at the end of the 2 weeks, the biweekly cleaning. And those are the cases where we have actual evidence, either through the observation of dirt and gunk in the foot spa itself, or a legal admission by the salon owner that, no, we don't do that cleaning. Then that's when we cite the company or the individual for failing to sanitize the foot spas. As far as the records go, keeping the cleaning records is important because it's protection against we presume if you're recording the cleaning that you're doing it, I mean, if it's cleaning is recorded and the foot spas clean both, it's reasonable to conclude at that point that the salon is following the procedures that are required. My observation from my docket is that it's far more common to see clean foot spas and incomplete records.
Right, and that's where you say a lot of the violations are, so that was what I was just relating to, that the emphasis is on documenting, but just like...
We do both. We're very careful to check both.
I just had an inspection not too long ago, and I accompanied the inspector as I saw how it was being done, and I personally felt that we could do a little better job at, actually, my facility happens to be clean. You all have my name, so you can follow up. But in any case, he did ask some of the questions. We had the old form for documenting. But is it, as far as actually going in there and taking the jet off and, looking and lifting things, none of that happened. And I know in our area, there are a lot of violations that you'd probably would need 100 people to just follow up on. And so that's my concern. As we have such emphasis on sterilizing from day one since 17 years ago for a nail nipper, today I still see filing of an orange wood stick in another salon or spraying alcohol into an implement and taking the towel and dusting it and turning it around or another direction. And so that continues to be something I see. And I'm a spa owner, so that's why I ask you that. And I know that you have a tremendous job in trying to deal with all these places that pop up and do business where they shouldn't be doing business and that you're not even aware of. But I think that either more often or more thorough and less emphasis on the actual document, because anybody can sit down and fill out a log, but actually cleaning that and observing that and seeing that the employees know what to do, I think it's very crucial. That's my comment.
Thank you. Let's see, some other things, some key statistics were, we also got 197 final orders issued in the cosmetology program. 37 of those were against unlicensed people engaged in unlicensed activity. And we collected total penalties, assessed a total amount of penalties for unlicensed activity, both individual operators and for salons, of $42,350. We opened 3,170 cosmetology cases. We resolved 4,460 cosmetology cases with 1,119 agreed orders. We assessed $1,447,345 in penalties and collected $950,591 in penalties. I'm always interested in knowing where the $1 comes from. Who was it that paid that part of their penalty?
Anyone else? Comment, question? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you.
And now we'll have field operations. Tanya?
Good afternoon.
And your name?
Julianne Crocker, I'm the lead facilitator for field operations.
Right.
Okay, Julianne.
Yes, and just for the record, I'm Tanya Guthrow, Director of Field Operations. And Julianne is going to help us in a moment. We're going to give you guys a brief overview of our MOBI route optimization program. But to start out with, we've got a list of the top violations found during inspections for the last quarter. And you can see in detail each of the ones. These are the top 10 that we were able to identify. And many of them are related to sanitation. A couple are related to the licensing, and you know, I think that those are good places for us to be to try to identify unlicensed people or sanitation issues. And a couple of them are for administrative type violations. So, under division projects, we have been working on new technology, and we will continue to do so. It is the way that we feel we can become more efficient and be able to use our limited resources better over time. One of the things we've been working really hard on for over a year is a MOBI route optimization program. And what that means is that we're able to enter in business rules related to the inspection, such as where an inspector is located, where the facilities that need to be inspected are located, what kinds of skills the inspector has, the hours of operation, the duration that we anticipate the inspection to take, and a number of other items. And the system creates a route that is turn by turn that is supposed to be the most efficient. And of course, we've got a lot of work to do, so it's helping us do, with our limited resources, the right inspections given the situation that we have. So I think we're ready to start talking about that. She's going to pull it up for us. I want you to actually see some of the screens and the printouts that are sent to the inspectors. Okay. This first slide shows what we call a report manager. It's the term that we use. This is what folks were doing before we bought this software. And what it is really you can go into a system, we have inspectors that were assigned to a specific zip codes or counties. They pulled up all of the inspections that they needed to do, and they sorted them in an Excel spreadsheet, and they were able to sort by, you know, inspections due or overdue, and then try to make the most efficient use of their time. As you can imagine, that is a really big task to ask for the inspectors to do, because they're not just doing cosmetology inspections and barber inspections, but also tow, VSF, and we have some folks doing licensed breeder and vehicle booting as well. So we were hoping to move from this manual type system to a system that's going to better automate how they go from one inspection to the next. This is a map that you'll see up here that shows where the inspections are located. These are a list that shows all of the different facilities, and just some highlights here. If you'll see the top kind of purple color, these are counties or areas that have 1,000+ facilities that need to be inspected. One thing to note is in Harris County, you'll see that is 8,000+ inspections just in that one area. Okay.
Can we get copies of those?
Oh, of course. Yes, and I think it may be in your report.
These inspections are not just salons, you're talking about all of those.
These are all inspections. One thing to note is when we get new inspectors, the first thing we do is teach them how to do barber and cosmetology inspections first, because it's what we have the most to do, but also I think it lends itself to a very pretty standard inspection type that, you know, they're going to have a lot of work available to them as they practice and get better and better. And this is a map showing where our inspectors are located. And this one happens to include 2 new inspectors. We have hired Michael Hanna in El Paso, and we've hired Sam Hernandez. He's going to be in the Waco Temple area, which is a new area for us. All right. And this is something I think is important. These are 2 maps, and what they're showing is a map from February 2015, the first map that's here on your left, versus the map of August 2015. And now that we've turned down the lights, I may not be able to read this. But what this is really showing you is the age of the inspections that were waiting to be done. So in February, what you'll see is a bunch of different colors there, including the purple color, and if you,
2010.
which is the 2010 or older inspections. And if you'll notice in August that we don't have any inspections that are that old. So we've been making progress on making sure that the inspectors who are so busy and working very hard, but they realize we have so much work that they could drive just 5 miles and be busy all day long doing eligible inspections. But we have to make sure that even if you have to drive 75 miles and only do 4 inspections, that those get done and don't get forgotten. So this is something that it's already helped us do. Okay. All right. I'm going to let Julianne take over and describe the details.
So I've become the Moby guru around here. Anybody has any questions, they come to me. So this is what the program looks like, and we've been able to do a lot with it. I apologize, the slides are going to be a little small. I'm not intending for you to be able to read all of them, but just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. So we can look at this by inspector. So we enter in all of our inspectors, the location of where they're being routed from, the type of inspections they can do. Not all of them can do every program. Depends on training. So our more senior inspectors are doing all of our programs, while our new inspectors will be doing 1 to 2, maybe 3 programs in their first year. We can edit, and we can actually assign some profiles based on each individual inspector. So somebody that's in a very urban area, such as the Houston area, they have a much tighter profile, which keeps them in a smaller radius. But somebody like in the Panhandle will have a broader range and will actually be driving more miles. The system will allow them to do that. Our managers are actually reviewing these routes and then sending them to the inspectors. And so this kind of gives you an overview. They can see what everyone on their team is doing at one particular time. So if there's flags of things, maybe there's too few inspections in an area, they can look at where those inspections are located and realize that, hey, we need to do an overnight in that area. And so we are able to do little tweaks such as that. We also can look at this by location. So we come in and these little green dots indicate all of the inspections that an inspector will do on days. So this system allows us actually to drill down very granular where we may not have had quite that capability in the past. As you can see, it also shows the facility information, so we can get down to actually who the facility is and where they're located and who the owner is. And then Moby is able to give us some very nice maps to show here's the first place that the inspector will be going, here's their start and end location, and it shows the entire route. So it helps us see where each inspector is located. We can look at one inspector over a period of time, or we can look at everyone in the team on one day, which really gives our managers a lot of flexibility in seeing who is where and who needs to do what, and then make adjustments as needed. It's kind of an overview of the system, and from an administrative level, this is what our inspectors see. So every day, or actually once a week, they get about 4 or 5 routes, we call them, and it gives them an overview page with all of the inspections for that route, shows them the map of where they are, and an estimated number of miles and a number of hours on site.
Julianne?
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Maricela Higgins, Advisory Board. So can you just tell me, in other words, means like you're tracking? It's a tracking device of where your
It is to
your
a
people are?
degree. It's not like a big brother tracking. It's just to make sure that we're getting the right inspections at the right time, to make sure that we know that when an inspection is due every 2 years, that we are actually conducting that inspection every 2 years. Because what was happening before is, like Tanya had mentioned, I have an inspection to do 5 miles down the road, but I'm kind of ignoring the one that's 35 miles down the road. So it kind of helps balance some of that activity.
Right,
Okay.
and Madam Chair, this will help us maximize the resources that we have. And
Yeah.
we're not brilliant in coming up with this. That Federal Express uses this. All of the different delivery services use this to maximize the mileage that they get, because in maximizing that mileage, they're using less time on the vehicle, but also less fuel, and they can get more done. And as Julianne was saying, it might be an inspection, or Tanya was saying, we might have to go 75 miles to get to the inspection. We're getting that done. And while we're getting that done, we're getting all of the other things done as well to maximize that trip. So it's something that's, we looked at that service. The Department of Agriculture?
Department of
Had come up
Agriculture.
with this, and they saved considerable amount of money on the inspections they were doing for gas pumps to make sure that they had all of those in compliance.
Good, that's good.
Great. Thank you.
Yes, and so then the next thing the inspector sees is an actual list of all of the inspections for the day with pertinent information. It also has a link here that will take them to our internal system to provide them even more information and details about that inspection. So it's telling me, so you can kind of see, this is our dashboard that tells us all the details of that license. And the last thing it provides is turn-by-turn directions. So our inspectors have that ability to kind of look over ahead of time. They can also mark and let us know if some of the routes that Moby is taking them has construction, or it's notorious for low water crossings or different things, just so that we can be aware. It's a great tool to help us with that. And as you were mentioning, I am in the process of doing that analytics on the cost analysis. So hopefully in the near future, we will have that available to share with you.
Julianne, I have a question. Alicia
ma'am.
Rivera. Does it also keep up with the amount of time that the inspector stays in the salon? And it might have showed that. I just wasn't able to see that.
This gives an estimation of how long they should be in any given salon or any given inspection. We are not tracking the exact amount of time at this, sorry. I don't speak quite loud enough. At this point, we're not tracking how long they are in each shop. Once we have the inspection, that may be a tool that will better tell us. And instead of looking at across all salons, for each salon, we would be able to estimate the amount of time it will take an inspector.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Is that it?
That's it.
Any other questions?
Okay, I've got a few more items on my report.
Okay.
But one of the things I want to point out is that, just to make sure it's very clear, the inspectors are working very hard. It's just that this can use this algorithm and make some really smart decisions that it would be just impossible for an individual to make about where's the best place to go. But the next item on my report was regarding e-inspection, and that's going to enable us to actually track how long it really takes to do an inspection. We all know if we go there, we may or may not see any violations. If there are no violations and there's one chair, that can happen pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say you have 15 chairs and a whole bunch of violations, it can take a lot of extra time. But as we move into an e-inspection process, we're hoping to have better data on what it really means and how long on average it really takes to do all the different kinds of inspections that we need to do. Another item on here is that Jennifer Harless is the TDLR representative and for the Texas Human Trafficking Prevention Task Force, which is a task force that includes a lot of different state agencies, and she's also happens to be our manager for the South region. And she's working with other employees here at TDLR to set up and provide training for our inspectors so that in case they run into situations that may indicate that there's a problem, they know what to do and who to report a problem to. So we've got training going on for all of our field inspectors in the next couple of months. In addition, the Field Operation Austin staff recently moved, so we're located now just right across the hall over here at the North Campus, and we're enjoying it very much. So that's very, very nice stuff. I mentioned already, we hired 2 new inspectors who started, I believe, on the 19th of October. But also, we have 3 openings right now to replace some of the folks who got promoted or moved over to exams and education to do school inspections. So we have 2 openings in the Houston area and 1 in the North DFW area, in case anybody knows of anyone. And that completes our report.
Is that it? Any other questions? Anyone?
I have a question. What's the criteria you use for new hires in this area?
What
of
criteria?
inspections?
Well, you know, we post a position, and in the position it goes through some of the minimum qualifications and also the things that we would prefer. And based on that, we see what applications come in and we rank them to see who has the experience that we're asking for and the preferences that we're asking for. And once we've done that, we're able to identify the top, 5 to 8 people to interview. And we go ahead and do interviews with each person who qualifies for an interview with us.
Sorry, Marisela Higgins. So they're not necessarily licensed operators or cosmetologists?
No, not necessarily. We do have some folks who on staff who are.
But it's not part of your requirement?
It's not a mandatory, not at all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have the licensing division, Joyce Hennington.
Good afternoon, Advisory Board. I'm Joyce Hennington from the Licensing Division. Senate Bill 807, effective September 1st, 2015, waives the initial licensing application fee for a military service member or military veteran whose military service, training, or education substantially meets all the requirements for the license, or a military service member, military veteran, or military spouse who holds a license issued by another jurisdiction that has licensing requirements that are substantially equivalent to the requirements for the license in this state. As of today, we have issued 15 cosmetology licenses based on the criteria of Senate Bill 807. We are expediting all of these licensing applications. All the applications have been reviewed and licenses issued within 5 business days of the receipt of the application. Out of the 15, 10 of the licenses issued were operator license, 1 was a manicurist, 3 estheticians, and 1 esthetician manicurist specialty license. That concludes my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions, y'all? I had one, but I don't remember what it was. No questions? Okay. Oh, Ron.
Okay, Ron, you're making me sweat.
I'll ask you something.
No, I don't have any questions.
Right quick. The instructor written is still getting a lot of failures.
I don't know. Education will be able to answer
Oh,
that.
oh, this is education, I'm sorry, you do licensing. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And now, we have Ms. Legate, Pamela. Discussions on the rules, right?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm Pam Legate. Oh, and good afternoon, board members. What I'll be discussing with you today are the proposed rules. At the last Cosmetology Advisory Board meeting, I think we went painstakingly through each rule, and we showed you where we were adding things to the rules and striking out. And basically that came from implementing changes that came about from House Bill 104 and House Bill 2717. Those two legislative bills allowed services to be provided outside of a licensed facility, and also to remove hair braiding from the cosmetology regulations. Also, we went through and there was some numbering differences and just basically some cleanup where we took out things that were no longer relevant because of a time limitation that had passed. And then a little bit of plain talk too, that we found a few places where we could make things more simple. So I can go through each definition with you, or I can give you the highlights of the rule changes. You'd like the highlights?
Would probably be good.
Okay, all right. We'll start then with proposed amendments to 83.10. Those are definitions, and those amendments remove hair braider from the definition in cosmetology, and it also adds special event to the definition. Proposed amendments to 83.20 remove all references to hair braiding, the hair braiding specialty certificate, and we've gone throughout the entire Chapter 83 and done that. Proposed amendment to 83.22 eliminates the temporary license. That temporary license was created to allow hair braiders at Renaissance festivals to have a temporary license, and now that hair braiding is no longer regulated, there's no need for the temporary license, so we've stricken that. The amendments to 83.25 delete requirements for continuing education that was established for a specific time frame. So those time frames that have passed, we went through and struck those dates. Amendments to 33.31 delete the reference to hair braiding. 83.70 specifies when a licensee may work outside a licensed facility, and that is if they book the appointment through a licensed facility and they complete the services at the location of the special event. So that would refer back to the definition. Proposed amendment 83.71 removes the reference to the shampoo apprentice permit. That is because the shampoo apprentice permit was deleted or abolished during the last legislative session. Excuse me, the last before that legislative session. So that was something that's really a cleanup because we don't have that anymore. In addition, it deletes the equipment requirements for hair braiding salons. Proposed amendments to 83.72 change the equipment requirement term to wet sanitizer. Our compliance had gone through and they had seen that we were calling something wet sanitizer when really we were in the definition it is a wet disinfectant soaking container. So we went through to make sure that everything was consistent and followed the definition in the rules. The proposed amendments to 83.80 delete all fees pertaining to hair braiding, temporary license, and expired renewal dates. Proposed amendments to 83.106 delete the term isopropyl and ethyl alcohol, which were removed from the rules as sanitation products in the adoption of rules published June 13th, 2014. That was 2 words that we had just overlooked, so we're making sure those are out now. Amendments to 83.10, delete references to hair braiding. Amendments to 83.114, simplify the language regarding service animals. And proposed amendments to 83.120 deletes the curriculum for hair braiding. So that is basically all of the changes that were published in the Texas Register after we presented them here to you last time. They were published in the Texas Register on September the 18th, 2015. The public comment period closed on October the 19th, 2015. There was one public comment that was sent to the department during that 30-day comment period. The commenter believed or commented that the airbrush instrument requirement should be removed because the method is outdated and the equipment is expensive. This comment is outside of the proposed rules since we didn't have anything. We didn't open that section up for that particular issue. However, we are in the process of a 4-year rule review, so we'll take those comments into consideration when it's time to publish proposed amended rules based upon public comment for the rule review. Do you have any questions? I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
I have a question under 83.25, licensing, continuing education. Let's see, which one is it? Because these are, what number is this? It says a licensee may not receive continuing education hours for attending the same course more than once. And that is, I'm trying to tell you what it's under.
E1?
E1. Yeah, because sometimes when providers renew their courses, they'll send the same material in and get approved. And so I'll have a person come and take the course and then come the next 2 years or so and take the same course. But this says you can't do it.
Apparently, that's what it says, yes.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be sure I understood it.
And I don't know if somebody from E&E wants to expand on that.
I think you would have to eventually take it over again.
If you're using the same
Within like a time frame.
Madam Chair, let me clarify that. You can't just renew the course. The course is a new course. It gets a new number every year.
Right.
So the content may be the same, but the course number is different. Therefore, people can take that.
So that's what that means.
Yeah. The idea is that hopefully you learn something and you retain it and you take something additional. But
So they can't take the same course number
correct.
twice.
Correct.
Wait a minute. The course number is the same content?
It could have
It
the
could
same
be.
content, yes, because a course only lasts for 1 year, and then it has to be submitted again.
So it
And
could
so
be
you get a new number.
You get a new number, but it could still be the same
You could
curriculum.
still use the same contents.
Right.
That's what I want to clarify.
So
You got
if you
it?
didn't get it the first time, you might get it the second or the third
But with a
time.
different number.
Yes. As it requires, in general, for us to retain information, so.
Okay, that helps me, the number.
Alright.
Okay. Anybody else? Question?
Now, where do we go at this point? Oh, excuse me, Ron
Well, at this
Robinson.
point, I would request that you vote to approve the rules as published in the Texas Register and that they be presented to the commission for adoption with an effective date of January 1, 2016.
So are you guys ready to vote, or do you have more questions?
Natalie Enderman, I have a question unrelated to that vote, but, and you may know that, I don't know how long you've been our attorney, but is it common just to have one public comment or one?
You know, it's a little unusual for cosmetology.
To just have one or
Just to have
more, or-
one.
okay.
We usually have many more than that.
Yeah.
But I think this just indicates that nobody really had any issues with the two subjects of the legislation.
I would also hope that our cosmetologists are paying attention too, so that's what I'd like to know.
And Pam, I think that because it's the subject of legislation, there was vetting of that issue in the hearings before the bills were passed.
Yeah, that's correct. There's really no, you could make a comment about the statutory changes, but we can't do anything about that. So there were going to be special events, and hair braiding is deregulated. So I think that's where you have less comments, and we have had other situations where it's, very, very, very detailed.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Nope. Wow. Are we almost to end? Thank you,
We
Pam.
need to
Oh,
make-
we need to
we
vote.
need to vote.
That's right, we do need to vote. All in favor of,
We need to make the discussion.
somebody needs to make a motion.
I make a motion, okay, that we accept the recommendations regarding proposed rule amendments at the 16 Texas Administration Code, Chapter 8383.
Can we have a second?
I second the repass motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Great.
So passed.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Really? We almost finished.
Okay.
Okay, the next item is recommendations for agenda items for the next board meeting.
Excuse me,
And I
ma'am.
know before, at the last meeting, one of the recommendations for this meeting was to have the appointments of the work groups. However, we didn't have all of the new members in yet, and so I guess we're gonna, go ahead.
Well, I was just, it's kind of hard to set a schedule if you don't have work group members, So when will that happen? Can't hear you.
She said we'll table it to the next meeting.
Fantastic, okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Uh-huh.
let's identify the work groups and get a consensus from people that,
What they'd like to.
what they'd like to, have them send you information on what they'd like to serve on.
Okay.
And that way that at the next meeting, we can have the discussion and the appointment.
Okay. So do you want me to just read them now, or?
Well, for an agenda item for the next meeting, say, yes, these are the work groups that we want to assign people to. So, and then as people can think about that, they can tell you in the interim, or, email to you directly, not to the whole group.
Okay.
That they're interested in A, B, C, or D. So drum roll, the work groups are.
Oh, okay. The work groups are, we have an administrative rules work group. We have an education work group. Health and safety work group. And an enforcement work group. So we have 4 work groups. So if you need my email address, I'll give it to you so you could kind of email me and tell me what you prefer working on. And we'll try to have those ready for the next meeting.
Right, or why don't we do this, have people contact Tamala, and then she can tell you which.
That's good, yes. Contact Tamla, that's easier. And then she'll let me know the information she got. That okay, Mr.
Is-
Bill?
Yes.
Madam Chair, is there any definitions going along with the,
With the name of the work group?
yes,
What we have to do?
yes.
We may be able to provide that at another time.
And can you serve on more than one?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you sure can. Okay. Anything else? Any other agenda items for the next meeting? No? So what date? I heard February,
Well, Madam Chairman, I would request that we do our next meeting in February preferably on a Monday. I don't have a calendar in front of me, but what days are available? We have, this is Monday. Sorry.
The first, the 8th, the 15th.
Okay, so Monday, it could be the 1st, the 8th, or the 15th.
15th is President's Day.
So we can't do the
Can't do
15th.
it the 15th? Okay, what about the 8th?
The 8th is available.
Okay.
Okay. And will we still come in the afternoon or in the mornings?
They said that at this time.
We,
They
I
said
think
at
we
the time.
prefer coming in the afternoon.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Anybody
Get a little more
disagree?
travel time?
Yes. Makes it easier. Everyone agree?
Everybody agree? February 8th? Okay, so we'll try to do the
In
next board
afternoon?
meeting, February 8th in the afternoon. I know my husband liked that. Anything else? Any questions?
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock.
Okay.
Wow. The meeting is now adjourned at 2:30, 2:28.
This is the quickest one I've
Madam
been
Chair,
here.
mid-meeting, we had the clock corrected to get off of daylight savings time. I don't know whether you noticed that.
I saw him fooling with it, but I haven't even turned my watch back.
Got a note.